We're standing here outside the United States Embassy in Yerevan, Armenia, where a group of protesters have gathered in solidarity with the George Floyd protests occurring across the United States. Why is this issue so important to you?
Because people are being murdered. Our target audience is the US Embassy and Madam Ambassador. She's literally getting paid to be here by all of our tax dollars. So the least she could do is come out and talk to us and tell us that she's on our side, or she agrees with what we're saying, but what she does is just hide behind in her office. So I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's just.
U.S. Ambassador to Armenia, Lynn M. Tracy. This is a letter from American citizens and supporters from around the world living in Armenia demanding a call to action in regard to state-sanctioned violence and anti-black racism. Every individual who chose to participate has done so in support and solidarity for the global Black Lives Matter movement, and the call to action for the imperialist U.S. government to defund police and redirect military budgets to community-based models of safety, health, and support. We refuse to stand silent while black communities continue to suffer under violence, discrimination, and injustice.
Police in the United States has exercised brutality in a way that's been dangerous for Black Americans for many, many years, and it seems to have overboiled in the United States and reached the tipping point. And as Americans here in Armenia, feeling very far away, but wanting to contribute in any way that we can.
And why is this issue so important to you?
I don't think we should live in a world where injustices are carried out on a daily basis against anyone based on who they are, their gender, their race, their identity. And as Armenians, I think that, and having been on the receiving end of injustice, unrecognized injustice for over a century, I think we're in the unique position to know what that anger feels like and be able to channel that emotion into some injustices that are being perpetrated against people who are not Armenian.
Just the injustice that's going on right now, it needs to be heard internationally, and we're here for our brothers and sisters back home.
And who was your target audience for these protests?
The target audience, honestly, is everyone that is not aware of the systemic racism, the systemic oppression that's happening in the United States, in Europe, everywhere around the world. This is for everyone that's not aware of the system, and everyone that needs to be more educated about what's going on. And hopefully this can spark a massive movement so that we can be there for our brothers and sisters that are constantly being oppressed by individual racism and systemic oppression.
And why is this issue so important to you?
I grew up in a Mexican-American community in Tucson, Arizona, where we faced oppression of our own based on bilingual education that was trying to be cut by other people. And growing up in this society, I realized that we're all in the same. If we're facing oppression from our end, I can just imagine what they're facing. So if we're all there for each other, you know, we just continue moving on for a better society for our kids in the future, and, you know, continue making the world a better place. So we're all here for each other, and, you know, this oppression needs to stop, and people need to start waking up and start making movements and start making changes.
It's difficult being an American abroad, not really having any kind of perceivable action that you can do to help out is the least we can do.
We were protesting racism and violence towards black people in America, but honestly, it could be anywhere.
And who was your target audience for these protests?
I would say Americans, but I also think about my students here in Armenia, because I've had a lot of people tell me that, or think that there's no racism in America, like it's been solved. And I'm constantly telling people that that is so far from the truth. And there's a lot of racism still here, like every day. So I just want people to be aware.
The crowd gathered across the street from the U.S. Embassy. With their signs held up high, they began chanting names of African Americans killed by police. They also read aloud a letter directed towards the U.S. Ambassador to Armenia, Lynn M. Tracy. Police quickly arrived on the scene. Soon after the demonstration began, the police dispersed the crowd, citing social distancing rules in place per the state of emergency. George Floyd protests continue to take place across the U.S., with similar protests of solidarity occurring around the world, from Argentina, France, Germany, the UK, and many others, included among them now Armenia.